Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at another awesome metal build, and this right here is the Metal Build Gundam Exia Repair 4, also known as Graham Gundam. As usual when it comes to a metal build review, especially one like this which is a Tamashii web store exclusive, basically the premium Bandai of Tamashii Nations, this would not have been possible without those awesome people over at BUYEE, so if you want some of your own, link in the description. So first off, I'm going to mention I know absolutely nothing really about this particular Gundam right here, so let's jump over to the Gundam Wiki to get a little bit of information about it so we can, know what we're talking about. Some of you might, some of you may not, but this is not from the anime, so something tells me quite a few of you won't have a clue, just like me. So I'm going to take this directly from the Gundam Wiki about this, so here we go. So the Gundam Exia Repair 4 is the upgraded version of the Gundam Exia Repair 3, appearing in Mobile Suit Gundam 00 Festival 10 Revision, and it was piloted by Graham Maker. And just in case you're curious as to what Gundam 00 Festival 10 Revision is, it was a live drama performance that is set after the movie Gundam Awakening of the Trailblazer. So once again, this isn't an anime or manga, it was a live drama performance by the voice actors. So back to the Exia Repair 4, it says it was created after the confrontation with the ELS, and that the Exia Repair 4 was completed in a short time as a number of developmental technologies and prototype equipment were utilized for its weaponry, including its left arm. Instead of being powered by a large GN condenser like its base unit, the Exia Repair 3, the Exia Repair 4 is powered by a GN Drive Tau. New prototype GN condensers are mounted in each part of the body, enabling the GN Drive Tau powered machine to use exceptionally large amounts of GN particles. Its newly designed left arm incorporated technologies meant for the future 6th generation Gundams, and has a trial function for brief, localized activation of Trans-Am. The new GN condenser in the left arm is also optimized for this function. Although the left arm's internal frame is exposed, it possesses sufficient toughness. So it seems like the biggest difference with this, as you can see just by looking at it, is that left arm. So is that a bit of a precursor as to what we're going to see from Gundams coming out from future Gundam 00 based designs? Who knows, it really does have a bit of a ELS Quanta kind of feel to it. I think it looks awesome and I can't wait to see if we get more of this. But anyway, let's check out what is inside of the box. So once we get everything out of the box, there is the Metal Build Quanta with absolutely everything that it comes with. And once again, this is quite the loaded up Metal Build box, but not as much as some things we saw previously. This comes with the typical Exia sort of loadout, which is a whole bunch of swords, 7 to be precise. We've got left and right hands for holding on to all of the accessories. Those are different because the two arms are different. And finally, we do have a full stand, which is your typical, yet awesome, Metal Build stand. Let's check them out. So now jumping into the aesthetics, and this right here is what the Gundam Exia Repair 4 looks like out of the box, just with a couple of bits added, like the rear skirting armor and the back of the GN Drive Tau. So just like we would have seen before with the Metal Build Exia Repair 3, this looks absolutely phenomenal. And I will get up to a comparison of those two figures very soon, but first let's take a look around this. Jumping into the full 360 spin so you can see absolutely every bit of detail of this particular figure, and this is ridiculously cool. Once again, similar to what we would have seen before, and the new aspects being that very ELS Quanta looking arm and that Quanta looking shield up on the shoulder. This is a real mix looking kind of point between the Quanta and the Exia, and that to me is phenomenal. So everything we would have seen on these figures is here, but the one thing I'm not seeing is the little bit of sometimes dodgy Tamashii Nations quality control. Now I took a bit of a look around this figure everywhere, and I'm not seeing any of those really harsh nips. Not yet anyway. But besides that, the best aspect of Tamashii Nations metal build quality is here. The paint looks phenomenal. We've got multiple different kind of paint finishes, that is the matte, gloss, semi-gloss, pure gloss, we've got some clear parts, metallic paint, and that left arm that really is the centerpiece of this particular kit, that is made out of so many die-cast parts, it's blowing my mind. Anyway, let's take a little bit of a closer look. So now moving in for that closer look, and once again, this does look absolutely spectacular, just like we would have seen with this one back here, which we will take in a minute, which is the Exia Repair 3. So we've got a whole lot going on, tons of decals here and there, but it is the new arm that is completely and absolutely blowing my mind. This is made out of so many die-cast parts that it just feels phenomenal, cold, and metal. So even though a lot of aspects have been removed from the typical Exia, we have the GN condenser wire segment back up here on the shoulder yet again, and you can actually see that it runs through the arm, and that just looks so cool. Up on the shoulder here, we do have a big old shield that is very reminiscent of what we would have seen with the 00 Quanta. It opens up in the exact same way, and it looks like the weapons attach on in the same way. We'll take a look at that in the accessories, but so far, this is really nice. So anyway, moving into the comparisons, and there it is side by side with the Exia Repair 3 we would have looked at not that long ago. Now I will mention this does have two forms, that being the standard Exia, and this right here, which is the Exia Repair 3. So as you can see between the two of these, there has been quite a bit changed. The chest on the Repair 4 here looks very Quanta-like, so does the shoulders. The arm obviously is so different, but we do have a ton of aspects which are pretty much exactly the same. So from the waist down, what we've got here is essentially the same on both of these figures. And the arm right there, the standard variant of the arm, that is pretty much the same too, and I think the same goes for the head. So yeah, if you are tossing up between the two of them and you want to know which is better, they are essentially variants of the exact same figure. Now let's check out that Quanta. So I do not have the metal build, so I'll be sliding in the master grade for this, but as you can see, this shield up on the shoulder is pretty much identical to what we see on the Quanta, as well as that little chest segment right here. So if you've ever wanted yourself a bit of a mashup between the Exia and the Quanta, then the Repair 4 might just be for you. So rewinding back to the beginning of the review, once again, there is absolutely everything that comes inside of this box when it comes to the accessories. So let's take a look at everything one by one. So next up in here, we do have that nice display stand, pretty much the same as what we would have seen with previous metal builds. So if you've seen those reviews, you know exactly what this can do, but just in case you haven't, this features a bunch of moving parts and locking mechanisms. So this part up top that can move like so, lock as simple as that. We've got this little locking segment here, which allows this to extend out of vision completely. Move down like so. We've got another locking mechanism, which allows this whole segment to slide up and down. And everything here locks into place so perfectly. These do exactly what you need them to do, and they do it perfectly. Getting Quanta onto the stand just involves sticking this adapter into this hole like that, and then just attaching it up top. As simple as that. Very easy. So we're going to be working our way through all of these weapons one by one, and as usual I will be giving a little bit of an explanation about what they are, and of course I will be taking that once again from the Gundam Wiki. So first off in here we have an absolute arsenal of swords, 7 to be precise in the usual Exia way, but what is really cool about these particular ones is they are all labeled. So this one is number 1, which is the GN Tachi, and then we've got some smaller ones, this middle-length one right here, this is number 6. This is the GN Battle Sword, we have 2 of those, and then we have this one here which is labeled number 4. Of course we have the other ones as well, and this is one of the Battle Blades, so let's go from small to big. Well, this is the GN Battle Blade. So the GN Battle Sword and the GN Battle Blade are both stored on the GN Shield with their blades pointing downwards and upwards, respectively. They can also be differentiated through their blades' lengths, with the GN Battle Blades having shorter blades than the GN Battle Swords. Like the GN Bayonets, which we will look at later, they're also prototypes of 00 Quanta's GN Sword 5. Unlike the 00 Quanta's GN Sword bits, they cannot function as bits. All of these are painted with a nice, almost pearlescent paint on the blade, which really makes them pop and look a little bit GN particle-y. There is no points of movement on this particular blade, there is on the other ones. To get this attached, attaching them into the hand is very simple. They just slide into the hands like so. All of the images for this particular weapon in the manual show them being used in a reverse grip, so that is exactly what we're going to do right here. So the hands just pop off like so. They hold on pretty well. Getting these on the first time can be a bit rough, but that wasn't so bad. And there is what it looks like attached. So the second weapon we have in here is the GN Battle Sword, and the whole profile for this is exactly the same as what we would have seen with the GN Battle Blades. So that does mean it's just the same thing, a little bit longer. Attaching this on, I decided to go with the other hand on the other side. So we do have 2 types of holding hands, a right angle holding hand and one that is at a little bit of a extended angle towards the front. So when the Exia Repair 4 here is holding these weapons with a reverse grip, this does hold them, well, more backwards, I guess is the best way to put it. Like it's got some real forward momentum while flying through the air. This is a cool feature. When these are not in use, you can attach them all up onto the GN shield. The beam blades attach onto these little segments just in here, so they pop on easy like that. As for the longer beam blades, we do have some flip out little hook segments just here, which allows them to just snap on just like so. Not too difficult. There we go. And also we do have some movement on all of these once they are attached, so they can kind of spread out ever so slightly. And this is just, well, kind of bit of a little wiggle. So anyway, there is the GN Battle Blades and the GN Battle Swords attached up onto that GN shield. These look really cool. They definitely have a Qantas style vibe, and I can see how this would have been a prototype shield and weapon system that came before the Quanta. Once again, absolutely beautiful, and the shape of this is just, gorgeous. So moving up through the calibers right here, we've got the GN Bayonet. According to the Gundam Wiki, this says a short sword-styled weapon. It is one of the prototypes created during the development of the Qantas GN Sword 5 and can switch between sword mode and rifle mode for melee and ranged combat respectively. A pair of them are stored on the rear waist arm unit. So once again, these are super nicely detailed weapons. This one right here is number 2, I assume the other one is number 3. These have 2 modes and they swap between them very, very simply. First off is this one right here, which is the sword mode, and then just bring the handle down and bring this back, and we've got the long range shooting mode. So just like we would have seen before, these can be popped into either hands, the extended angle hand like this one right here, and the regular angle hand like this one right here. When you're popping these in sword mode, the blue segment is pointed towards the front, just like this. And when you're using them in the kind of gun sort of mode, they point out to the back, just like that. So there is the sword mode and the gun mode for those GN bits. Did I say GN bits? This doesn't have bits. GN bayonets. So when these are not in use, just pop them out of the hands, 1 and 2 like so, flip this round to the back, and then we've got this little arm section right here. So we've got 2 slots here and these fold out segments on the sides of the bayonets. These can rotate, fold out just like this, and then you just slot both of those in like so onto this arm around back. So these right here are rocking the nicest articulation, or should I say the arm they're attached to. So this one is independent to this one. Well, it's attached to it, but it can move on its own. So there is a whole lot going on in there. I will mention this is not a die-cast segment. This is just plastic like a lot of the rest of the figure, but still we get a lot out of this. And it is pretty dynamic the way you're able to pose it, just like you can with the GN shield up here. So that will lead to a lot of pretty awesome dynamic posing. So the next weapon we have in here is the main event, which is the GN Tachi. So this is super long, there is no moving parts on it like we would have seen with the GN bayonets. This right here is the Exia Repair 4's main weapon. Named after a type of Japanese sword, it has the longest blade amongst the Gundam's weaponry. Developed based on the data of the 00 Quant's GN Sword 5, it has incorporated added enhancements. Inheriting features of the GN Sword 5, such as its slender blade, the GN Tachi also serves as a foundation for the GN Sword 6. It is stored on a holster on the Exia Repair 4's back. And speaking of GN Sword 6, what the hell is a GN Sword 6? If you know, let me know in the comments. Anyway, let's get to this. So just like everything we would have seen so far, this can just slide on into the hand like so. The instructions actually show this being held in the standard sword kind of way, just like that. So this is one long, slender, awesome looking GN sword. So we've pretty much seen all of the expressive hands and usable hands so far, so let's throw on one of the widespread expressive style for using with the sword. Whoa. So yeah, these can be a little bit on the difficult side to get on because the cuffs don't seem to be fully attached on. They're kind of held on by the hand a little bit, and it can be a little hard to get on the first time. Come on. There we go. So now with this attached, this is a very nice GN sword. Again, it is kind of like the Qantas sword, but with less armor around it and more business blade going on. We've got some lines running through the blade as well, just like we would have seen with the other ones, and this does look incredible. Again, with that little bit of a kind of pearlescent paint on top. When this is not in use, just pop it out, simple as that. And to attach it onto the back, we've got a little bit of a slot right there in the back, into which it can slide using a little bit of a rail. So that just slides in like so, and does have a pivot up and down once it is slid in there. So of course, asking the important questions, when the Repair 4 is needing its sword, can it actually reach it? Yes, it most certainly can. So now moving into the articulation and the build, and as usual, the build of these particular figures is ridiculously strong. Like, nothing drops at all. This has kind of wiggled out on me a couple of times, as in dropped while posing it, but the minute I pop it back in, it's usually fine. But besides that, it is rock solid. But I will mention that the Exia Repair 3 right here has kind of loosened up over time, and it tends to, well, slip and end up doing the splits on me a lot of the time. But besides that, it's still quite good. And if you have one of these figures, let me know, has that happened to yours? Or is it that one just a bit of an outlier? So the head right here is attached via 2 joints that's double jointed for that giggity goo. That is a ball joint up top and a little bit of a hinge down below it. Now we do have a bit of a hidden third joint, which you actually have to click out, which allows the head to come forward a whole lot more. It does open up a little bit of a hole back there, but this is very nice visually from the front. As usual with these figures, we do have these clavicle antennae, which can move back just like so and be flat, and then they can pop straight up like this. So moving now into the chest, and of course we've got that little joint here that allows the chest section to move like that, moving the arm forward and back. The arm also has its own forward and back to go with that. We've got the full rotation right here, and one cool aspect about this particular shoulder is this one can actually open up just like so. It's always nice to have some extra hatches for that dynamic look, and that just closes up just like so, simple. As for the arm raise, then it can raise all the way up to this point, which is not so bad. We've got the full rotation of the arm right there. Next up, we've got a double jointed bend at the elbow that gets us to that point right there. And the wrist then gives us a flex and an extend just like so, and you can rotate that all the way around. So as for that kick-ass new arm, this has a lot going on as well. So it is attached to the shoulder via one of those typical Season 1 00 strips, but that doesn't really get in the way too much. It does push it down a little bit towards the top there, but not a lot. This arm does look incredibly nice and feels really nice too, because it is made out of a lot of metal parts. It rotates a little further down than we would have seen with the standard arm over here, but that's cool. So that little segment you can see right there with the 3 green parts, when the arm is bent, that actually tucks down into the arm very nicely, which is a pretty cool effect, but the bend at the elbow could be a little bit better. Not the worst, but not the greatest either. Next up then, we have an ab crunch to the front like so. There it is, back and forward once again. We've nothing side to side, and we've got a rotation that feels like it goes all the way around just like so. Moving down to the skirting armors now, they can flip up just like so. If we move around to the back, the rear ones right here, these can move up and down as well, just up and down, no out and in. So as for the kicks, then we get down here. First off, you're actually able to disconnect the front segment of the crotch right here, which allows you to move that up out of the way a little bit more for the kicks. And then there we go, all the way to the front, so not too bad at all. There we go, out to the back. Again, absolutely fantastic. And as for the splits, there we go, all the way out, and that is as far as they will go, which is plenty, honestly. We do have some rotation at the upper leg here. It can probably go all the way around, but does feel a little bit strained, and I don't want to push it too much. Next up, the bend at the knee. This gives us this bend, that bend, so that is a very nice bending knee right there. We've got an armor flap at the front of the leg. We've got one right here at the rear. And when we get that foot on the ground, there's Exia moving out all the way to the back. The knee bent a little bit, but that gives you an idea of where it goes. And then there, it is all the way to the front. And then we do have a bit of a bend at the toes, just like so. Next up then, there it is, side, all the way to side. That's a little bit stiff, but that is what you get from the die cast metal. Lastly then, the toe right here can point down that far, which is quite a bit. Last up then, moving up to the shield, we've got a whole lot going on in the arm right here. That is a little bit of up and down right here. You can pivot it out and in then at that point. We've got another pivot just above that, again stiff because of the die cast metal. And lastly then, we do have this bit here. So there is no kind of rotation on this. It's always sort of pointing down the way, well, unless you move it up like that, I guess. But you can never kind of rotate it towards the back. Just kind of bring it up and tilt it up like so. As for what's going on here, we've got one flap which moves it up like this. We do have that segment inside which can pivot out like so with the GN condenser in the end. And then finally, then you're able to pop this segment up like so for a very nice layered look. Again, I love this shield. So yeah, the articulation right here on the Exia Repair 4 is incredible and exactly the same for the most part as what we've seen on the Exia Repair 3, which is also the standard metal build Exia. The only thing I kind of wish this had was a little bit of a side-to-side tilt at the torso near the abs section, but besides that, this is absolutely phenomenal and solid as well. So when it comes to the Metal Build Exia Repair 4, this is a fantastic figure as you'd expect from Metal Build. Now every now and then I have seen some little quality issues on some Metal Builds before, but none of them are present on this. This is absolutely phenomenal. We've got so much going on here. The usual fantastic Tamashi paint job is here. That is the matte white. The blue is matte as well. We've got some gloss colors on top of that. We've got some metallic greens. All of the GN condensers on this are in a nice clear green. The new arm on the left hand side looks phenomenal. There's so many die-cast parts in this that you can actually feel them, which is incredible. We've got some nice GN condensers on that arm as well. And when it comes to the accessories, we've got the Exia style 7 swords, but they're not like anything we've seen before. Lots of clear parts, looking phenomenal. And when it comes to the actual build and the articulation, this is solid as a rock and can pose up a storm. Anyway, if you do want one of your own, as usual, I got mine through BUYEE. I'll leave a link down there in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Once again, I cannot finish this video right here without thanking those who support me here on the channel as members and over on Patreon, including Craig Jerry, Caleb Engelhardt, Van Fawn, Global Frequency Studios, Lauren Seahack, Joseph Kukluk, Mr. Winter, Forsetti, Joe, Org59061, and Gunpla UK Limited.